From its ancient origins to the fact that the statue you think is Buddha isn't really him. Stay tuned to number 1 to find out 10 things you need to know about Buddhism. Number 10. The name. It may seem odd to consider, but the name Buddhism is a term that is used by everybody else who doesn't partake in the practice. It actually came from the West of all things, and what's more, it wasn't coined until the 1830s. That's about 2,200 years after the start of the religion as a whole. I mean, when you look at it from an objective point of view, you can understand why they called it that. The religion emanates from their holy figure known as Buddha, so the name Buddhism isn't too far of a stretch in terms of naming. But that's technically not what the religion is called, it's just what the Western scholars thought would be a good name for it. Just goes to show you that sometimes what you think is fact is really just something that someone else made up altogether. Makes you question what else is out there that has a similar origin. Number 9. The origins of Buddha. Buddha, as he is called, is the man who helped organize the belief of what we call Buddhism. But an interesting truth about the man is that many don't know where he came from or why he went down the path that he did. For example, his name wasn't Buddha. It was Siddhartha Gautama. He lived in the 5th century BC, and despite what his life would end up being, he most definitely wasn't poor. He wasn't even close. He actually came from a very rich family. In fact, he was actually a prince in Nepal, or the lands that would become Nepal, more accurately. However, as time went on, he started to see and sympathize with the poverty and suffering that was going on in the world. So he rejected his fortune and tried to become one of the lower class citizens. But he soon found that this didn't help his desire to help others. So he came up with the now famous middle way, to become one who had enough to live on, but wasn't lording over those with his vast wealth. A true middle-of-the-road solution. According to legends, after 6 years of doing this middle way, he found enlightenment and started to teach others this path, and thus, Buddhism was born. Number 8. Buddha is not a god. Before we talk about deity in Buddhism, take a moment to like this video and join the Zero to Hero community by clicking that subscribe button below. In just about every pantheon or religion, there is a deity figure that is held in high regards. God or Jesus in Christianity, Allah in Islam, Zeus in Greek mythology, and so forth. But in regards to Buddhism, that is not the case. And when you think about how it all came to be and how it's meant to be taught, it makes sense. You might be thinking though, isn't Buddha their god? It's easy to think that, as he was a key, central figure in making the religion what it was. But to the followers of Buddha, he is not a god, rather he is a teacher figure. One that is meant to be honored or respected in the terms of the impact he made on the world, but not a deity to be openly praised. Think of it like how the Christian faith praises the disciples of Jesus for all that they did during and after his time on earth. They're figures that help spread the faith, but they themselves are not gods. Plus, Buddha and his teachings were about finding a balance in life, and being a god would greatly break that balance, which is something that he would never have wanted. Number 7. Do your Dharma, get good karma. So that begs the question then, what do Buddhists believe? This has been a bit misconstrued at times because we hear words like Dharma and karma, but don't exactly have the right meaning for them. So allow me to explain in simplistic terms what it means. Buddhism is about good deeds at a very core level. Specifically, the deeds you do in this world are the ones that will ascertain just how well you do in the afterlife. Dharma is the act of doing good deeds, and the more good deeds you do, the more karma you get in the afterlife. Think of them as goodwill points. However, if you don't do these things, you'll get negative karma, which can lead to you not getting into the next stage of life. When that happens, you get reincarnated and get another chance to try to be good. In a way, this is one of the few religions that actually preaches doing good deeds in order to do well in the afterlife. Others sometimes gloss over what you need to do or how much you should do, while Buddhism gives you a hard line on what needs to be done. Number 6. Who is the Dalai Lama? Another big misconception about the Buddhist faith is the role of the Dalai Lama. A very visual figure in the world, he's often likened to that of the Pope in the Catholic faith, but that's not exactly what's going on here. it's actually a bit more complex. His role is more centralized to the extent that the Tibetan followers of Buddhism follow the Dalai Lama and his teaching. The rest of the world do not, which is a stark difference to the Pope, who is revered throughout the Catholic faith. The process to finding the next Dalai Lama is one that is a bit of a mind-boggler, for they don't look for ones who are the most qualified or the most peaceful or whatnot. Rather, they go and look for the ones who seem to be the reincarnated form of the last Dalai Lama. For real. This seems like a random process, but it's one that has been done for many generations, and it ties to their desire to find the next form of another person. This person is found through visions and dreams. Number 5. Their temples aren't what you'd expect. When you hear the word temple, you either think of a place where people worship a god or go to say prayers and other such practices. And while that is a feature of most Buddhist temples, it's not exactly all that's going on there. Because to the Buddhists, there's no need for worship, as they don't technically have a god to pray to or to praise. You can pray for guidance, of course, from the Buddha, but most times people go there to learn or to meditate. That may seem odd, but think about it like this. Those who practice Buddhism are aiming to make a better world. So through this, prayer and worship is not a way to fulfill this goal. But with education and even getting classes at these temples, as there are lecture halls in them, the people will learn how to better go down the path that they want to take. And in Buddhism, taking steps down that path is everything. Number 4. Vegetarian lifestyle isn't required. A lot of people have an image of Buddhist monks in terms of how they look, how they dress, and most importantly to some, what they eat. One misconception about Buddhism is that if you decide to partake in this religion, you will need to become a vegetarian and maintain that lifestyle for as long as you're on the path. This is both correct and incorrect. Let me explain. It's true in the sense that most who practice Buddhism have a desire not to take another's life. So in that essence, that means you can't take the life of an animal, which would mean that you can't eat meat. Nonviolence is a major teaching in most branches of Buddhism, however the practice of eating meat itself is not condemned, just the means. So by that token, there are loopholes, such as eating meat from an animal that has already passed away, because you yourself did not take the creature's life. So whether by nature or another hand, the creature is a gift to you, and so the meat is okay to be eaten. You should be ready to become a vegetarian though if you decide to take on Buddhism, but you don't have to go fully down that path if you don't want to. Number 3. Women have a much harder path. The world today doesn't fully believe in equal rights in regards to men and women, and if you look at many of the ancient or older religions, you'll see that women aren't exactly the most revered people in the stories and legends. Buddhism, sadly, is no different. In fact, it's stated in the teachings that women actually will have a much harder time trying to reach true enlightenment than men have. What's more, the faith believes that Buddha will be reincarnated, or has been in the past, but all depictions of him have been male. Going even further down this rabbit hole, a woman can never be the Dalai Lama in the current faith, which means that they can never achieve one of the highest honors in the religion. It's possible that this could change over time, but at present, it's not looking good. Number 2. Big Buddha. If there's one thing that the modern world has taught us, it's that we like to exaggerate the looks of certain people to match our beliefs of what they exactly look like. And Buddha is no different. If you were to look up pictures of Buddha, or more specifically Buddha statues, you would find a rather chubby guy with a big smile. That's not Buddha. In fact, Buddha was documented as being very skinny, which would make sense as he did intentionally live in poverty for 6 years. And even after achieving enlightenment in his life, he wouldn't have gorged himself on food, as that would betray the middle path he was aiming for. If you're curious as to who the smiling Buddha is, that would be a Chinese man named Budai, who also achieved enlightenment, but I guess that detail got lost in translation. Number 1. Buddhism was born out of Hinduism. Funny enough, Buddhism itself wasn't just created by Buddha. During his early life as a prince, he was a follower of Hinduism. But as his life went on, he started to feel as though the teachings of the practice weren't enough to give him the fulfilling life that he desired, and desired to give out to others. So he took certain principles from it and then adapted it into his own practice. Ironically though, Buddhism was founded in India, where Hinduism has a massive following, but the practice of Buddhism itself doesn't have very many followers in India. Have you ever looked into Buddhism? Let us know what you've learned in the comments below and take care.